Hello, friends. It's Chops, and welcome to another Chops vlog. I know. 2 videos in less than a week. You guys are going to get spoiled. Sorry. I'm going to have to watch out for that. Anyway, I did want to talk a little bit about the Microsoft acquisition of Activision and Blizzard. Somebody had asked me about it. I realized that I'm missing the SEO algorithm peak. Like that news is come and gone, and nobody really cares. But I figured I would talk about it anyway. As you may probably know, Microsoft bought Activision Blizzard for $69 billion. That is an insane amount of money, especially considering they did it all in cash. Imagine just having $69 billion laying around and you're like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to buy a gaming company. Anyways, Microsoft bought Activision Blizzard, and everybody's, of course, in a little bit of a prediction panic on what's going to happen to free to play, what's going to happen to World of Warcraft at large, what's going to happen to Blizzard games and Blizzard IP. And Crystal in the last video had asked me if I was ever going to comment on it, and I said, yes, sure, I will. I just wanted to kind of have a moment to gather my thoughts on it because there is a lot of stuff involved in that discussion. So the first thing I want to do is say I think predicting anything is rather pointless, especially in regards to free to play. I know Microsoft has their Game Pass thing, and everybody's like, "Well, what if free to play goes on the Game Pass?" And I think predicting anything really is kind of a fool's errand because there are so many ways that this could go. They could, free to play World of Warcraft could stay around, and then World of Warcraft up to the most recent expansion could be what goes on the Game Pass. And then if you like it, you can buy it and play the full game, whatever. It could be that the full game, it just periodically shows up on Game Pass, and otherwise, it plays like it normally does. They could completely do away with free to play. They can make the whole game up to level 50 or the most recent expansion free, and then you just have to pay for the latest expansion. There's no telling what they could do, and I think that Microsoft acquiring Blizzard doesn't reduce the number of options for what could happen to free to play. It simply expands them. Like all the stuff we've talked about before about the future of free to play still holds as a possibility. There's just now the possibility that also it could end up on Game Pass in some form or fashion, if I understand Game Pass correctly. Side note, this may come as a shock. I'm not actually much of a gamer. I play a lot of World of Warcraft. I play a little bit of Darkest Dungeon, and that's it. I had to look up what Game Pass was because I didn't know. I didn't know how it worked. So from what I understand, it's a subscription service that allows you to play a variety of games that are on the Game Pass at that time. And then if it goes off the Game Pass, you can't play it anymore. However, if you do like the game, you can buy it and have the full game for all time, which I actually think is kind of a cool model. It seems like people really enjoy it. What that means for free to play is I don't know. Like I said, I think trying to predict what happens there is a little silly. Do I think free to play will change because of this? I don't know. But I do. This is where I will make a prediction. If free to play changes, it's because the nature of the gaming industry as a whole is going to change. And it's the nature of the industry as a whole is going to change. And there will just be a demand placed on changing the payment model for World of Warcraft, or for scrapping World of Warcraft altogether and starting with like World of Warcraft 2 or something. Subscription model really feels like it's dying out. So we may see some big changes, and all that is to say, I don't think any of that's going to change because Microsoft bought Activision Blizzard. It will have changed regardless, one way or the other. I do think that in the future, the look of free to play will be a good deal different than what it currently is. One of the reasons I'm making such a push to kind of finish this character is because I would like to be able to look back on it as a successful project that I worked on and completed before something fundamentally changes about the way free to play works, which could be, they could do away with level 20 free to play and make it entirely, make the game up to the most recent expansion free to play. And that would kind of kill the buzz for me. So I would like to not get there, which is a very roundabout way of saying that, yeah, I don't know that we really have anything to worry about in terms of Microsoft changing what Activision Blizzard was ever going to do with the game in general, in terms of free-to-play account statuses and stuff. That's enough on that. What I really actually wanted to talk about was the acquisition in general and sort of like what I think the future kind of holds in that regard. Because when I was thinking about this and kind of gathering my thoughts, I don't think we need to worry about Microsoft doing anything to fundamentally change the games that we currently know and love, right? Like, I don't think that they're going to do anything that radically alters the way World of Warcraft works. I don't think they're going to do anything that radically alters the way Diablo works or anything like that. I think they know that their customers like these games the way they are. And I think they know that if they, go in and just radically alter StarCraft or the StarCraft franchise, that there will be a bunch of very pissed off Koreans calling them up and complaining about it because, people love that game. They love the way it works. And and Microsoft is smart enough to know that they're not gonna fuss with any of that stuff. What I do worry about more than anything is just this continued concentration of IPs, of culture, of creativity into these very large conglomerates of producers, basically. You look at it and you have these firms that buy up all these intellectual properties, and then they have to justify that investment in some way. And so what they do is they have to make good on it. They have to make money off of them. And so what I worry about what's actually going to happen is not that Microsoft is going to change the games we know and love. What I do worry is going to happen is that the intellectual property that we know and love is going to be radically altered, or not maybe even really altered. Can you all hear my dog? She's snoring really loudly. Not even really like radically altered, but watered down. And what I mean by this is sort of like, look at the example that I have at sort of the tip of my brain is Marvel. And look at what happened when Disney bought Marvel, right? When the Marvel movies first started coming out, we were all very excited about it because, there was this, even if you weren't a comic book geek, and I am not a comic book geek, but I was marginally aware of who the Avengers were. I really liked Thor as just a character. I thought he was cool. I liked the idea of this sort of huge cinematic universe where they were going to take the time to really tell these stories and over the course of a dozen or so movies, really build it up to this final climactic event. There were going to be all these cool actors involved and all that fun stuff. And they did that. And then it really just kind of started falling off the rails. You had this really cool idea, and it was a very sort of controlled buildup that they were going for. Like, they had this sort of plan, and you were like, well, what are they doing? Like, there's, this this story that they're building towards. There's this, these pieces of these movies may not really make sense, but it's all going to weave together in the end. So just, hang out, enjoy the ride, and trust us that when we get there, it's going to be awesome, right? And that was sort of the promise of the Marvel movies. And up until the first Avengers film, it really delivered. And then after that, it completely started to crumble. And now it's it's dozens and dozens of movies, solid dozen or so TV shows with different series, and none of them really make sense anymore. And like, they don't play into this sort of larger arc. They just simply kind of take place kind of in the same world. And worse than that, and I think the worst part of it is they all feel exactly the same, right? And I don't want this to be sort of like a rant about Marvel movies, because this is a World of Warcraft channel, but it's an example I'm going for here, so just bear with me. All of them feel exactly the same. You go into the original Doctor Strange, and you come out of it feeling the same way as you would going into and coming out of a Spider-Man movie, and then going into and coming out of a Captain America movie, and then going into and coming out of a Thor movie. They're all generally kind of the same feeling, and they all have the same like smooth sheen to the visuals, and they all look just super slick, and they all have the same sort of quippy writing, and there's no real way to distinguish like what fundamentally is the difference between Doctor Strange and Iron Man, right? Like, the movies play the same. They have the same emotional weight to them. They have the same basic storyline. Rich dude learns to subvert his own ego to sort of take on evil for the greater good. But even then, like, a small character differences, they all just kind of have the same. They hit the same notes, man. They look the same. It's just a formulaic assembly line of movies. And Disney does that because they have a winning formula. They know that those movies are fun to watch. They know that people like going to see those movies. Oh God, it's an escort quest. And that people will respond well to those movies. That this formula works. And you see it because they do the exact same thing with Star Wars. And again, man, I'm like turning this into a movie thing, but just bear with me. But Star Wars movies look and feel exactly the same as the Marvel movies do, because they're using that same assembly line Disney formula, right? And they have that same slick sheen. They have that same sort of quippy writing. They have that same sort of like emotional arc, and they hit the same beats, and it's just, what is the difference between a Marvel movie and a Star Wars movie at this point in time? And the only difference, honestly, guys, is costuming. That's it. And so what I worry about is that, we're bringing this around. We're bringing it home. I promise. What I worry about is that Microsoft is going to do the same thing to Blizzard IPs, right? Like, they're not going to fundamentally change World of Warcraft, but we may get like World of Warcraft Mobile, World of Warcraft 2, well, actually, World of Warcraft is probably a bad example on that because it's such a massive game. But like, imagine the Warcraft IP. We're going to get Warcraft 4 and an expansion, Warcraft 5 and an expansion, Warcraft Mobile expansion, maybe Warcraft, a Warcraft specific card game that's, well, wait, that's just Hearthstone. But a Warcraft specific, Candy Crush version or something like that. And they're just going to churn out these Warcraft IPs. And then they're going to do the same thing with StarCraft. And they're going to do the same thing with Diablo. Diablo specifically is really kind of set up for it, because they've got, Diablo Immortal coming out. And then we're going to see like Diablo Immortal 2. And then we're going to see Diablo 4. And then we're going to see all the cross-platforming of that. And then you're going to see Diablo 5 and an expansion, Diablo 6 and an expansion. It's just going to be this churn of games, and every single one of those games will probably be well made and well put together because it's Microsoft and it's Activision and it's Blizzard. And say what you will, yes, I know small indie company jokes, but the amount of talent and dedication that goes into these things is truly remarkable. And Shadowlands is an outlier in quality. You can fight me on that. Anyways, they're going to be well put together games. They're going to be good quality. They're going to be fun, but they're going to be this sort of like formulaic, algorithmically generated series of games, and every single one of them is going to land. Every single one of them we're going to play, and we're going to be like, all right, cool, that was fun. And then every single one of them we're going to be completely forgotten. Do you remember the second Iron Man movie? No, you don't. You don't care. Do you remember the second Captain Planet movie? No, you don't. Or Captain America movie? No, you don't care. Like you just. The way people relate to things these days is what's been released most recently in the past 2 or 3 years. And then they forget about what happened 10 years ago and 20 years ago. And so that's what's going to happen, I think. And that's the big worry to me in regards to what happens to these games is that Microsoft buys Activision Blizzard, and with the exception of games that are already in the pipeline, like D4 might be the last good Diablo game. We're still going to get plenty of Diablo games, but Diablo 4 is probably going to be the last one. And if it sucks, like think about that for a second. If it blows, Diablo 2 Resurrected is the last good Diablo game, which means the last good Diablo game was released something like 20 years ago. When did Diablo 2 come out? I don't remember. The last good Diablo game is already being developed. The last good Warcraft game is probably already being developed. The last good World of Warcraft expansion was Wrath of the Lich King. But you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Like the last good one of all these games is either already in development or has already come out. And every game that we're going to get from Microsoft, Activision, Blizzard, from here on out is just going to be some formulaic, like assembly line, factory made, just slop. It's going to be a meal from Chili's, man. You're going to go in, you're going to be like, all right, that was tasty. That hit the spot. You know, love their burgers, love their queso, love their chips. And then you never think about that meal again. Same thing. It's going to be with the games. It's going to be every game is going to be the second Spider-Man movie. Every game is going to be the second Iron Man movie. It's just going to be stuff it's good while we're doing it, and then we never think about it again. And that's where I'm at with this. That's my thoughts on it. I don't think we really have to worry about them changing free-to-play World of Warcraft in any really remarkable way that it wasn't already going to change. I do worry that the Warcraft universe is going to become completely meaningless and pointless and just not what we've come to love over the past, 30 years. Anyway, I'm done kind of ranting about that. I'm not going to do any more with this video. Thanks for hanging out, and I will talk to you guys next time.